Whoa, we hadn't had music as an introduction before. That's pretty good, Blake. I like that. Okay, we're going to call to order the March 2nd, 2015 City Council meeting. And to start us off tonight, we are pleased to have Hayden Hebert here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Hayden.
Ready? I forgot it. Oh wait, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Except for you, Hayden. Hey, do you mind if we ask you a couple questions so we can get to know you a little bit?
No.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where do you go to school and what grade are you in?
Skyline Elementary, and I'm in 5th grade.
5th grade at Skyline. Wonderful. And who is your teacher?
Miss Shell.
Miss Shell?
Shell.
Shell, Miss Shell. And what's your favorite subject?
Probably math.
Math's your favorite subject. Wonderful. What's your least favorite subject?
Probably, I don't have one.
You don't have one. That's impressive. That's good. So what do you like to do when you're not at school?
Probably play on my phone.
I'm sorry?
Play on my phone.
Playing on your phone. All right. Now, who did you drive tonight, or did someone bring you?
No, my mom and dad did.
Your mom and dad did. Could you introduce them for us?
Yeah, my mom, Rachel Hebert, and my dad, Dalton Hebert.
Wonderful. And who else is with you?
My sister, Bailey Hebert.
That's wonderful. Thank you guys for coming tonight. All right. So is there anything else we need to know about you? What's your girlfriend's name?
I don't have one.
No, you don't have one. I thought I was going to get him on that. Do you realize that no one has fallen for that trick from me? So you're doing good there. Counselors, do you guys have anything you want to ask? Hey?
No, sir.
No, thank you.
Wonderful. All right. I tell you what, I'm going to run down there, and I've got a little something for you, and we're going to take a picture. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'll be right there. Next on our agenda, we have a proclamation for a Traumatic Brain Injury Raiders Week, and Councilor Nahara will be giving that proclamation.
All right. Whereas Oklahoma is one of the states participating in the Public Health Injury Surveillance and Prevention Program, and whereas the risk of traumatic brain injury, TBI, is highest among adolescents, young adults, and those older than 75 years, and whereas Oklahoma ranks in the top 10 of states in the number of cases reported, with 4,221 Oklahoma residents sustaining a TBI in the year 2010, and whereas TBI Raiders is an organization formed to increase awareness and to help students and young adults with traumatic brain injury learn job skills and leadership skills which will enable them to succeed in school and in their community. Now, therefore, I, Miguel Nahara, Stillwater City Councilor, do hereby proclaim the week of March 8th through the 14th, 2015, in Stillwater TBI Raiders Week to bring awareness to the public about what is being done to help those living with a traumatic brain injury.
13 years ago, when I started this organization, someone in the U.S. sustained a traumatic brain injury every 23 seconds. That has drastically changed to where someone in the U.S. sustains it every 9 seconds now. Oklahoma is in the top 10 leading states, as was stated, and since I've lived here the last 6 years, I've become quite close with athletes and veterans at OSU, and it's to the point I don't want to see them go through any of what I've had to go through in the last 17 years I've lived with a severe traumatic brain injury. I've actually been fortunate enough to recover to the point to where I get to have normal days again, something TBI survivors should never get to have again. And I want to do something to help increase awareness, and it's only encouraged me by the responses I've gotten from the business leaders around town and students at OSU. And so I'm doing this week, and I really hope that students and business leaders will get behind it so we can bring more awareness and have Stillwater be the leading city in the state to show others what they need to do.
Thank you very much for all that you're doing. Okay. Next on our agenda is the consent docket, and we have items A, the approval of minutes on our consent docket.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent docket. That's approved 5-0. And then public comment for items not scheduled for public hearing. We do have one request to speak. Norma Shamblin.
Good evening. I'm Norma Jean Shamblin. I'm here to represent the Stillwater Apartment and Housing Association. We were informed about an hour or hour and a half ago that you were going to consider a voluntary inspection of rental houses. And I guess I've been doing this for the Apartment Association for about 20 years. And I guess I'm a little disappointed that we were not contacted to be a part of the presentation. Hopefully we will be a part of the conversation that is going to go forward. We do not feel, and haven't felt for many years, that an inspection is necessary. For one thing, you already have a voluntary inspection in place. Any tenant can call the city at any time and say, we do not feel that our rental house is safe. And you will come and you will do a thorough inspection. And there is a very detailed, agreed upon procedure and process that we have worked out with the city, I would say over 10 years ago. And as far as I know, that is working well. You inspect the outside all the time. You know, if the yard or the trash or the grass are not the way it should be for the neighborhood, we get calls all the time. The same is true if it is not maintained and painted. You as a city come in and do it. On the inside, you're inspected every time it sells. You are in, and like I said, for the inside, you have the tenant themselves. And the marketplace works. 20 years ago, or 15, somewhere in that price range, I had a really bright young lady student, and she was living in a place I considered uninhabitable. And I said, why did you sign a lease here? And she said, because I was afraid that the other places that were available would be worse. Stillwater has come a long, long way from that time. We now have more good meeting code rental places than we have people to fill them. And the marketplace is doing the inspections you want. When the person goes out to rent a place, they cover every place that they can find, and they choose the best one for the price. The marketplace is forcing us as landlords to have our places be better and better if we want good tenants. The other thing to consider is that you have a marketplace where people need a wide range of quality. You have students whose parents come and they'll pay $700 a month for their child to live in a single apartment because it has granite and it has stainless steel and it has brand new carpets. But then you go down and there's a large section of them that want something that's neat, clean, painted, and they'll pay $300-400 a person. And then you go down and you have the kids that can only pay $100 or something, or you have a family. All they want is that the heat works, the air conditioning works, the water works, the sewer works, and it's clean. They don't care if it's newly painted, they don't care if the rugs are deal, because they can't afford that. All of that fancy stuff that you pay for at $700, you can't afford to do and maintain a safe house and rent it to the people who can only afford $200 a person. And I think the marketplace does your inspections. I think the process we have where people can call and ask for inspection is there, and the inspections that come when you sell are there. As far as education is concerned, I think OSU does an excellent job of preparing the freshmen when they come in, and you have a yearly, or have had a yearly meeting where you invite the students to come to discuss this topic. And sometimes some of us, you know, are on the panel. If there's education that we can do, we are willing to do it. The Apartment Association wants safe housing too. But we don't think, we would like to be a part of the discussion of how you are going to do this and why you're going to do this when all these other things are in place. And I haven't seen what you're going to do, so I just did a general statement. Any questions?
Thank you. That was our only request to speak this evening. That's going to take us down to general orders, which just so happens to be the inspection program. Ms. Dennison.
Good evening. Paula Dennison with Development Services, here to present this proposal before you this evening. And I do have the attachment that was included in your packets. I have that brought up on the screen so folks and the audience can also participate and see what we're talking about. As all of you are aware, Stillwater has quite high rental occupancy rate. At the time of our housing study last June, it was right at 62% rental occupancy. Because of that high rate, staff has prepared a working draft of the document that you see on the screen, primarily for identification of maintenance standards for property owners, prevention opportunities, correction opportunities for any life safety, health, welfare issues that may be occurring. Also the property owners and the renters' knowledge and awareness of those life safety standards as well. Again, this is strictly a draft. Therefore, we are seeking the council's direction. Stop, go slow, go fast, maybe go, maybe not, whatever your intention is, we will be more than happy to address that. And Norma Jean, Ms. Shamblin and I have worked together, seems like even before I came to Stillwater a number of years ago, but we do have a very good working relationship, the city does, with the Apartment Association, and they have provided a lot of insight to staff over the years, and offering that, we would be more than happy if it is the council's direction for us to include any representatives of the Apartment Association or anyone else that you wish for us to. Going through this right quickly, this again is just the draft that we have brought up, and again it is a voluntary inspection program. The property owners would be the ones calling, not the tenants or the occupants of the house if there is found or believed that there is an issue on site. This would be the property owner who would make the call to the city for the city to go out there and inspect according to the guidelines that we have installed in here. And I know it's really hard to read on this screen, but I did want to throw it up here.
Paul, can I just ask you just
Yes,
a
please.
really basic question? Why now? What's driving this?
With the high occupancy of rental housing, with the housing study that was done and accepted by the city council last year, this was just one of the things that came out of it. We're working to knit things together, if you will, stitch them together. So the census data, the housing study, this could be a component if the council asks us to move forward.
Would this be consistent with Senator Halligan's bill that he's submitted on voluntary rental inspections?
It would be complementary to it.
Okay.
There was a different form of a bill at the last legislative session that did not pass.
Right.
And this one from Senator Halligan is for municipalities that have institutions of higher learning located within them.
I believe those were registration.
Those were registrations,
And
yes.
this is
A register.
and actually, Paul.
And this is not a registration.
Right.
This is a voluntary inspection. Again, the property
Okay,
owner
that's
asked
the
staff to
difference.
come out and perform a life safety inspection on the property.
And
Okay.
on the agenda, the word rental is used,
Yes.
but nowhere else in this program is rental used. Isn't this for every residential property?
It can be applied to every residential property. The intention originally, when staff started looking at this, was for rental properties, because typically the owner occupant is a little bit more aware of any life safety needs, neighborhood issues, or the impact of their individual property on the neighborhood and the conditions thereof. Sometimes you have the occupants, as Ms. Shamblin referred to, that see something. Some property owners, especially with the out-of-town rate that we have of property owners, are not aware of what may be occurring on their properties as well. But this could be transferred over for all all residential properties.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
May I say something? I was on the committee when we discussed this late last summer sometime, and I think that the interesting thing about this program is that it's not punitive at all. It's not call when something is broken. It's about being able to say and be certified as this is a safe property. And I've looked at a number of different cities that have universities and have this exact program with a list of rental property primarily that it has met the certification. And I would think that, as you know, especially for thinking about parents trying to find places for their kids from a long distance, it's a great help and a very positive thing for people with rental property.
Yeah, I think along those lines, Ms. Shamblin gave an example, and I think was exactly what we're talking about. And she mentioned the young lady who had moved in an apartment that she felt was below standards, but it was the not knowing. And again, that's in the past. But the intent of this is that, landlords at their choice could say, we inspect everything. It's not about the quality. It's not about a 700 versus 300. It's about the safety codes. And you voluntarily have it inspected and it meets the safety codes. That's public information. And so that new students coming to town and families who don't understand how to inspect properties for safety codes could go to this list and say, oh, here's 35 different apartments that have met all of the safety codes voluntarily. That doesn't mean that's all. They can rent from anyone, but it's just a. It reminds me, if you're a TV watcher like I am, the car commercials where they go to some car dealers and say, show me the Carfax. Well, some dealers gladly, here's the Carfax about these cars, and others say, no, we don't have that. You just take your chance. And so it's kind of like offering landlords a chance to say, here's the Carfax, here's the building inspection facts, so that you can offer that to people looking for rental properties. And again, not punitive, not a mandatory thing. It's just a service primarily for people looking for rental spaces.
I will also add along those lines, as Mr. Galloway was talking about, the city has made great strides in working with the university to accommodate the needs of, in particular, the students. We have economic development initiatives, we have transportation, variety of transportation modes throughout the community. This is could be viewed as another step in building those relationships, because the majority of the students are not going to be residing on campus. They're going to be residing in Stillwater proper housing that is afforded to them.
Did you have more to your report?
No, sir. I would just be happy to take any direction that you offer to the city manager.
We don't have a specific program other than the handout to present to you. And I guess the objective tonight is, if you think that this concept would be something that would be valuable to people moving to our community, either as students or other people looking for rental properties, it would be something that would be of value to them, and we'll pursue putting this together. And as Ms. Dennison said, we can certainly work with the apartment, the landlord association, and let them know what we're doing. And again, we don't want to do anything. It's not a requirement on any landlord. It's totally a suggested voluntary option that you might want to use. It could be used for, I think landlords could use it as a marketing tool when you're trying to, promote leasing of your properties to students and other bodies. You could advertise. We could call it some kind of rating. We have the city certified safety inspection, and it could be maybe something be good for 2 years at a time. Just some thoughts.
Council?
If I'm understanding it correctly, this is for us to start the conversation, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so one of my suggestions would be, if we're pulling more people to the table, and I think this is from Gina and I going to meet with SGA and being the liaisons there, I think the Off-Campus Student Association, they had a lot of concerns when we went there to a meeting, and so I think it'd be great to get maybe a representative or two from their organization to come to the table on this, just to give us some ideas. And they, I think a lot of times we think we know what the students want, but as Pat said, let's not make anyone's mind up. It's good to just bring them in and see what they're thinking. So I definitely think I'd like, if we're doing this, get some of those students involved to get their concerns heard. Do you have, I think they have off-campus, and I can't.
Off-campus student housing.
Off-campus student association.
Student association,
yes.
Okay.
And they're very active, so I think it's great to pull them to the table. Anybody that would fit into this group, to pull them to the table. I think that would be beneficial, and I think this is valuable for both renters and homeowners, so I like it.
As I understand it, this really is we're at step 2 of the conversation, meaning that step 1 was, hey, look at the idea, and there's been some time and effort put into this initial flyer, but we're far from any type of decisions, is my interpretation of where we're at. So I do think before any decision, we could make an educated decision on any of this, that there does need to be more conversation, and pulling in the groups that have been discussed, I think, is a very good approach to it. So I think having those conversations and really discussing what are the goals and the needs from all parties is very important. But I do.
Are you including in that the Renters Association?
Yes.
As well?
Yeah. I mean, it's all the groups that have been discussed.
Okay. Good.
Because I mean, it's one of those. We're talking about groups that they might have diverging opinions, but more importantly, they've got different knowledge bases also that can really bring to the table what it is that we need to accomplish to promote the livability in our community. So I think as we proceed, I think the next step is the pulling people together to have that conversation.
Both from the community and OSU. And I believe we should maybe even pull in SGA as a whole.
Yeah.
What I heard from the council is good step one. Now let's expand the circle and see where it takes us. Is that a fair summation?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay. Next on our agenda, under general orders, we have the quarterly financial reports. Ms. Lamb.
Good evening. I'm Marcy Lamb. I'm the Chief Financial Officer. For the second quarter, it looks a lot like the first quarter. The revenues for the general fund are exceeding the pace of the quarterly target, and the expenditures are lagging behind. So that's a good way to start out the first half of the year. We are getting ready to head into our new budget cycle, and we'll be looking very intently at all the accounts and trying to find out where we're missing the mark or where we're exceeding the mark and determine if any adjustments need to be made. But at this point, it doesn't look like there's any real difficulty. The sales tax revenues are just right at about the 50% mark, and we did kind of budget them flat this year, but we do expect those to kind of pick up in the next month or two. They usually pick up around the May timeframe when some of the students are graduating and parents are coming to town for various activities, and then OSU spring sports pick up a little bit. But we expect those to be right about where we've budgeted them for the year. The other funds, there's nothing concerning about the other funds. Some of them have seasonal activity that hasn't started yet. The debt service fund will receive the ad valorem tax, the majority of that in the third quarter, and so we'll be reporting on that. As well as the bid district. Those assessments went out in December, and so we'll have the receipts for those in the third quarter. And the only other revenue in the other funds that is a little concerning is the hotel motel tax. The lodging tax is down, and we're thinking that a lot of that activity from the oil and gas industry is largely responsible for that decrease.
How much is that down, Marcy? I guess I didn't see that. I'm looking for it, but I didn't see it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
How much is that down? I didn't.
It is.
Find it.
Let's see. It's down 5.19% below the quarterly.
Marcy, I was recalling just the most recent sales tax summary that you sent us, and it looked to me like the last 2 months at least were down compared to the previous month of the prior year.
They were,
right.
but all cumulatively.
We're making budget.
Yes.
Still, we're not.
Yes,
we're not going up like this anymore.
No, we're not.
We're tailing back down.
It's just relatively right where we said we thought we'd be. We typically in Stillwater have between a 6.5% and a 7.5% growth on average over about a 10, 15-year time period. So we've been budgeting around in the 4.5% to 5.5% increase range. So it was probably about time for a little correction to happen. But
one of the interesting things, if I may, those 2 months that Councilor Weaver was mentioning, last year, those percentages are compared to the same months last year.
Right.
And those 2 months last year were anywhere from 10 to 11% above the previous year, which was some of the largest monthly increases we had ever experienced. So we had an abnormally high 2 months of that period last year. So we're comparing this year to a very high year. If you look at the trend over the last 3 years, this year is actually up on the trend. It may be slightly less than last year, but last year was a high blip for those 2 months.
I'm always the guy that's half empty, we're half empty here.
No, I know.
Because we took those additional revenues and we built them into our budget for the current year. And so if we're going to start seeing month over month declines, we're not going to be able to budget exactly as we did in this current year.
No, but we had a more conservative projection. We lowered our projections this coming year because of that bump last year.
Okay,
so we didn't increase as much, project as high as we would have normally. So hopefully we've taken that into account.
And hopefully unexpectedly it'll rise, but we need more people to shop at home.
More time to tell.
All right, moving on to the SUA. The SUA also has pretty much the same results as the first quarter. The summer months led to some revenues being above the projected targets, and for the second quarter, the revenues in the SUA are 62.23% of the annual budget. Electric and water revenues are 64.02 and 61.75% respectively. Customer service fees, which include late charges, cutoff notices, and reconnect fees, are 7.5% above the quarterly target. And I'd just like to mention something here just for the public. We've had, with the cold winter weather, we do have certain rules about cutting people off. And so we don't cut counts when it's scheduled to be 32 degrees or below. Just thought I'd throw that out because we've just been getting several phone calls regarding that in the last few weeks. But anyway, that's where those customer service fees are generated. Revenues for water capital improvements and the wastewater capital improvements are just right at the budgeted target. And miscellaneous revenues, those are those revenues from eBay sales and various auctions. We have a program that we have rebates on our purchasing cards, and the funds received from those are in our miscellaneous revenues. So those are up quite a bit, 247%. The activities in the CETA are mostly due to the activity of the bid district. And first quarter they had car show and bike night events, and the second quarter, for a little bit of the second quarter, they were still having their food trucks and tune events, but then they had holiday events. And then they also received an allocation from the parking fines in the bid district, and those were received in the second quarter. Once again, in the CVB activity for the Hotel Motel Tax Fund, December 31st was the end of that activity to be reflected in the city's accounts. As you all know, we've contracted with Red Dirt DMO beginning January 1st. So going forward, what you'll see under CETA for that activity will be one line item for contract services. So what's reflected on this report is the end of them being operated as a city department. Are there any questions anyone has?
I don't have any questions, but I do really like the new presentation.
Okay, thanks. Still toying with it. Mm-hmm. So let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see.
Keep sending me the schedules.
Excuse me?
Keep sending me the schedules.
Okay. I like those
I like
too.
the numbers on the table.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That's going to take us down to miscellaneous items from the city attorney.
Request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307B1 of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of Municipal Judge Tanya Ron and City Manager Dan Galloway.
All right.
That's all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you.
Nothing further this evening?
Okay. Anything from the councilors?
I'm wondering when the complete streets and form-based codes will be on our agenda.
Okay, so moved.
Are you done? Sorry. Okay. Is he responding or is he just writing it down?
Like he's going
Okay.
to get the information.
I would like to have a discussion about creating a ad hoc committee for the CDBG money. A gentleman or community member approached me about possibly getting a little more public input and having a little help on that, and so merely putting them as an advisory committee, obviously they couldn't have any vote or anything, but they could help us get more public input. And so my vision for that would be to have a 5-member advisory committee, whether we all submit one or we just want to go out and find 5 people, however we want to do it. And I spoke with Mr. Galloway about this a little bit. It'd be probably hard to get them super active this time around, but could definitely get them in a meeting or two with our grant coordinator. And then next year would definitely be a big help. And so I don't know what we need to do to move forward with that, but.
I did discuss this with Councilman Howard. We could do this. Some cities do it. We do a lot of public meetings on this, but if you would like to have an appointed committee to kind of be a sounding board and vet that thoroughly and make a report to the council along with the public input, we could certainly look at setting that up.
I think anytime we can get public input, I'm all for that. So I think that's a great idea.
Dan, didn't the city used to have such an advisory committee? I mean, it's been years. I mean, it's not been
I think
since
so.
I've been
Yeah,
on council.
we have one time, but we can do that. I can put some basic little guidelines together, and you can all think about it. I would don't know how you want to do it, but I'll put together some options. I'll work with Paula. You could five of you could each name one person, and that gives us 5, but you may want to nominate and vote on them. I think the simplest thing would each of you to introduce one person to the committee would be nice. So we'll put something
people
together.
Apply to do
Could
that?
do that if you want people to apply, and you could look at the applications and do that as well.
Could we put an application? Oh.
Good idea.
What?
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think this
absolutely.
time around appointment would be better since we're a little short, and then next year if we get them to apply, I think this time around if we each had someone in mind, it's basically just getting people to apply if we know someone, and so I just think it just in saving time, it'd be better this time just to get a couple names together, and then next year we could get them.
People could email us if
Yeah,
they wanted
absolutely.
to.
Whoever's, I mean,
Certainly. We can put something up in the news and on the website and let people email you right away. But, maybe by the time you come to the next meeting 2 weeks from now, if you could each have a name, I don't think we have to do anything formal. Other than that, if each one of you bring me one of those, a name, we can take the 5, and I can work with Ms. Dennison, and we can let that group serve as an advisory committee.
We might want to put something on the agenda for the council to actually approve first, and then you could make
Okay.
appointments the same night if you wanted to. That wouldn't be a problem.
Certainly. So we'll work on having that together for the next meeting. And you all can work on finding some volunteers. Wonderful. Thank you. I think it's a great idea.
I like that. Okay. Let's see. Us in the news. Tomorrow, KSPI Radio. I'll be on there tomorrow morning, and then Wednesday we'll be on the Morning Edition TV with Rob Hill with Emergency Management, talking severe storm season that's coming up. So that'll be some good stuff, getting word out there to folks. Anything for upcoming meetings? And Mr. Dorman, real fast, we got a kind of a procedural back and forth going on, and I want to make sure that we all understand what we have to do, because we've got executive sessions for city council, but we also have SUA meeting and a CETA meeting and an executive session for CETA. So is the proper procedure to recess city council, have our SUA meeting, have our CETA meeting, executive session there, back, adjourn CETA, then reconvene, and then go back
Yes.
for city council exec session? Okay. Keep me on track.
Okay.
All right. All right, we have some appointments tonight. Let me pull those up. We have a vacant position on the Building Trades Board, and it is a special requirement of being a home builder. We have an application from Kenneth Baker to complete the term, so I would nominate Kenneth Baker to fill the vacant slot as home builder on the Building Trades Board.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to appoint Kenneth Baker. And that's approved 5-0. And then on Rural Water Corp 3 Advisory Board, we had 2 people that had resigned, and as I understand those procedures, they have forwarded their nominations, and they are more than acceptable to me, so I would nominate Jim George. Do I need to do these separately, or can I do them together?
Do them together.
Okay, I would nominate Jim George and Adam Van Deventer to serve on the Rural Water Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay. And then our last appointment is to create the nominating committee for the Stillwater Medical Center Authority Board Trust under our new rules, equal number from council and from hospital board. And so I would nominate Gina Noble to serve on that committee with me, myself, whatever the proper grammar is.
You want to, okay, if you want to nominate.
Gina and me.
Okay. Gina and I.
And I.
Gina and I.
I nominate myself.
You go get it done?
Teacher in the
I'll
audience?
get it done.
All right.
Is that a second?
Okay. That's a second.
That's a second. And that's approved 5-0. Okay, we're going to recess the city council meeting. And then I'm going to call to order the Stillwater Utility Authority meeting for March 2nd. We have consent docket items A through C on the consent docket.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the consent docket for Utility Authority. And that is approved 5-0. On that consent docket, that again has several items for the power generation station. And Trustee Nahara had asked a couple weeks ago about an update on those. Could we get a more formalized, here are all the bids that are out there as far as what's been done, where is it compared to budget?
Certainly, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No, not right now.
Yeah, get up here, Lauren, right now.
We got kind of the.
You mean you don't have it already right there?
Ago, so just looking for a more formalized report on that. What if I'd said yes?
Motion to adjourn.
He probably would have been able to answer it
He
for
could
me.
have got it.
So.
Let's adjourn before we
Okay.
get out there.
That's all the items on Utility Authority. Is there a motion to adjourn
Second.
Stillwater Utility Authority?
Third time I've said
Make a
yes.
motion to adjourn.
I'm going to motion and I don't know who seconded it.
Yeah, come on. Hit it.
That's approved 5-0. SUA is adjourned. Call to order Stillwater Economic Development Authority, March 2nd, 2015. We have on the consent docket approved minutes for the regular meeting of February 2nd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve consent docket of CEDA. It's approved 5-0. Mr. Dorman, a request for an executive session.
Pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307 C10 for a purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Stillwater because public disclosure of the matter to be discussed would interfere with the development of products and services and would violate the confidentiality of the business.
Okay. Is there a motion to move into executive session under CEDA?
Make
So
a
moved.
second.
Motion and second. That is approved 5-0. Pass that down for me, please.